spoilers for Steven Universe. If you haven't watched this show or seen the movie, then probably don't watch this video. Steven Universe is something I've been getting into these past 2 months, and one character in particular has stood out to me as being the most interestingly written. Pink Diamond, one of the 4 leaders of the Gem Empire, this star-spanning empire with a rigid caste-based society populated by beings called gems, basically materialized bodies with a specific gemstone at the core of their being, who all pop out of the ground essentially as adults with a specific function for them in mind. I am seriously going to summarize the plot line of this character, so keep that in mind if you haven't watched the show. Pink Diamond, when she was first properly portrayed to us in flashbacks, is a leader gem in the cast who spent a lot of her time just goofing off and playing games, acting childish and immature, and throwing tantrums whenever she didn't get her way, and never really taking her leadership position and responsibilities seriously. That was until she was given her first planet to colonize, Earth. But even there, she still shapeshifts into a different form to try and goof off anyway. Yet while on one of these escapades, she ends up exploring the world, and she grows to appreciate organic life forms, and it doesn't want to destroy the planet to make more gems and expand the empire. However, no other diamond ends up taking her seriously about that, so she sparks a rebellion and does succeed in driving the gem empire off at great cost, while encouraging her gems to live for themselves outside of this caste system and choose a destiny beyond the one they were specifically made for. Now, from that brief description, one could assume that Pink sounds like someone who became a fairly noble and good person. She was supposed to consume all resources on Earth to expand the Empire, but felt the organic creatures there deserved a chance at life as much as them. But when you actually watch the show, you realize her desire to protect life on Earth started out more as a curiosity and appreciation for it. And it most certainly did not start out with any practical reasons in mind. Pink started a literal war on Earth to drive the Gem Empire out, mainly because she wanted to keep the beauty of the place alive, because she found it fun and interesting. Pink, for the longest time, saw practically everyone as playmates to have fun with, not really as people. A case in point for this is Spindle. Spindle was a being specifically created to have fun and play games and just be friends with Pink, to devote her entire existence to Pink. And Spindle acted as Pink's bestie and playmate for centuries, until the moment Pink got a colony, something she was nagging the other diamonds for years about, and as soon as Pink gets something new and exciting that she's always wanted, she ditches Spindle in a garden for 6,000 years, not ever once thinking about her or looking back, even though they were functionally friends. Pink started the war on Earth not because she wanted life there to remain unharassed, but just because she liked the way it looked. Spindle was fun and amusing for a time, yet I just told you how easily Pink disregarded her the moment she had something that better interests her. In many of Pink's flashbacks for her early life, she is shown as being this spoiled brat who throws temper tantrums when she doesn't get what she wants, because she really was spoiled at times by the other diamonds, who mostly let her ignore much of her responsibilities as a member of the leader caste, and let her have things to just amuse herself with. Even if they did punish her at times, it didn't do anything to actually change her behavior. And apparently her temper tantrums are so severe that her Pearl, the assistant slash servants of the gem caste system, had her gem crack, a serious component of her being, mind you, and gave her a permanent psychological scar from it. Yet they still gave her the great responsibility of managing a colony, even though her behavior hadn't changed. The other diamonds even gave her a new Pearl whose stated purpose in life was to make Pink happy, i.e. encourage her behavior and goofing off. Pink was a child overseeing an important construction job who decided to ditch that when she found the land had some pretty flower beds and animals on it. Her intentions for protecting the Earth at the start were purely self-interested. Pink Diamond is most certainly not a good, noble person, but not necessarily a bad one either. As we saw in her early life, Pink was a very self-centered person, because Pink was a child in an adult role, but went through some changes that helped refine her into a better person. One of the changes Pink goes through is gaining a perspective for others' thoughts and feelings, and just how restrictive the caste system they're all born into really was. In the early years of the rebellion, Pink met Garnet, a forbidden gem fusion who came together out of love for one another and not for power as fusion is usually done by gems. Meeting Garnet caused Pink to realize that the gems around her don't have the option to just don on a disguise and act differently like she can, and it's partially through this meeting that Pink decides others shouldn't be forced to bottle up their feelings nor be restricted in who they want to be in life. And even before that, when she first witnessed Garnet but didn't officially meet her, Pearl attempts fusion with Pink and starts panicking, talking about how she's been thinking things without permission, like running away from the Empire and going to Earth, where she met Rose and formed a relationship with her there. At first, Pearl wants to be told to stop this because she was literally programmed to obey commands and be an object, but Rose, with stars in her eyes, sees just how special this really is and tells her to never stop imagining, never stop thinking for herself. In both these situations, Pink would see for the first time the individual oppressed by the system she's lived in and knows there is a beauty truly being trampled over here. One Pink then wanted to devote herself into freeing, as well as the Earth where it happened on. And the conflict went from protecting an interest of the world she was on to truly fighting for those around her, not because they provided anything, but because Pink believed gems all deserve a chance to experience life the way they want to, as she did with the Rose disguise. The second change Pink Diamond went through is in gaining more maturity and growing into an actual adult at last. Pink Diamond for the longest time was a child making adult decisions, unable to recognize the full impact of them, and while it was never her intention, a lot of those bad choices would become problems her son Steven and old friends would have to deal with throughout the series. Pink Diamond's change into someone with a bit more maturity came, from the war she started and the direct aftermath. During the conflict, she met many different gems and formed good relationships with them, but also saw them get hurt and even killed. She had the ability to heal and was essentially the big medic, and it had to be quite a regular thing for her to watch people come in, get healed, go out, and get hurt again. Keep in mind, Pink Diamond was in charge of the rebellion and the Gem Empire colony. Technically, all the gems were fighting for Pink's cause and dying because of a decision that started out as waging a war because of a self-interested desire to protect the organic life on Earth because she liked the way it looked. The war was an absolute mess of Pink's own making, and she knew the only one who could end it all was her. So in a desperate bid to end all the suffering, Pink decided to fake her own death under the belief that if she died, the other diamonds would just back off and leave Earth and her gems alone, leaving behind all the vestiges of her previous power and luxuries to live a far simpler existence on Earth with all of her friends and allies. Only that didn't happen. When the Diamonds believed one of their own was killed, they blasted the planet and wiped out almost all of the gems there, or left them corrupted into feral monsters, except for Pearl, Garnet, and Amethyst. So Pink would spend the centuries afterwards trying to gather and seal away all her corrupted comrades. Not heal though, that wasn't an option anymore, there was no fixing this, only containing the situation, and she mostly dropped having fun. The war, through all the death and destruction and aftermath, showed Pink intense consequences for her actions. The situation Earth was in a direct result of her, and Pink learned how to shoulder the responsibility of putting the Fallen to rest and keeping the planet safe because she had learned to stop being childish. What really showed that she had changed over the course of the conflict was her relationship with Greg Universe. When Pink, or just Rose at this point, met him, it was just because she enjoyed his music and wanted to express appreciation, and left the moment she got a CD. But Greg persisted after her, and at first she tries to rebuff him, saying that his life is short compared to hers, because staying with her to have a good time would mean throwing his future away. Even if Rose enjoys his music and presence, she doesn't want to have someone lose out on their lives just to have fun. Different from how Pink's companions before existed solely because they were there to amuse her, only relenting when Greg says that the only thing he wants now is to be with her, and she realizes, oh, this is about a romantic interest, and not just a desire to hang out and have fun. So they end up dating, with Greg really trying to get intimate with her, but Rose kept acting really childish and for a time treated the relationship as if it's some big game. It went on to the point where Greg frustratingly asked her to take him seriously, and she immediately drops the behavior and asks, confused, if this is not how human relationships are supposed to go. This wasn't some return to form for Rose, nor was she trying to be disrespectful. She was just completely out of her element in this, and went along acting as if this was one big game because she wanted to reciprocate, she just didn't know how, and Greg seemed to be having fun up to that point. After learning that, no, this is not how relationships work, Rose immediately tries to work with Greg to make an attempt to express love in a different, more mature way. Because Rose had long grown out of being childish, to respect others' feelings, stop making her world to revolve with things that amuse her. Rose had a chance to grow up on Earth. She kind of formed into existence as a gem, and never really went through that essential childhood phase of a person's life. Really, what we saw before was that phase, where Pink made mistakes before reinventing herself as Rose. It just so happened that she held a lot of power and responsibilities in those years, so Pink's childish actions end up rippling outwards and creating problems in a way that typically doesn't happen as a kid before later life comes along. And Rose would even acknowledge that the ability to grow up as her favorite part of humanity, the chance to invent oneself as they progress through life, and that something she learned is an important aspect of developing yourself as a person. Heck, that's why she gives up her physical form and memories to create Steven, so her son could have this experience to forge himself as naturally as possible, unlike her. I like Pink Diamond's character, more specifically the way she is portrayed. In the beginning of the show as Rose, she was seen as this untouchable goddess, an awe-inspiring freedom fighter who was kind and loving to all, until it's revealed that she's Pink Diamond. That she was this spoiled and bratty child, and it ended up manifesting in some terrible ways because of the power and influence she held. Yet through experiences, she was able to grow and become someone better. They show us how Pink/Rose got to who she was then, which both humanizes her and makes all that development look earned. Not to mention more relatable. After watching her development, I'm sure Pink would have gone back and taken a lot of her previous decisions and actions away, like how any of us would look back at our younger years, only to realize too late what an annoying little shit we were. So those are my thoughts on Pink Diamond from Steven Universe. Do you agree with my thoughts or not? Why not tell me what you think in the comments below? If you like this series and are new to the channel, click that like button and please head on over to check out my video essays, music analysis, and overanalyzing She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. You might find them enjoyable as well, and consider subscribing for more content like this to come.